This is an invitation for you to pay attention to the sentences you tell yourself about who you are, which is why I always like to tell you, determine what your desire is first, what you truly desire, before you ask yourself who you are. Because most people, when you ask them who they are, they tell you about their past. But if you know what you truly desire, which you haven't gotten yet, and then the next question is, who are you? Then you can define yourself by your desire. And that is in the future. You get to define yourself by your future. That is really powerful because then that pulls you towards a version of yourself that has not emerged yet. And that is compelling. Now, if you're going to use your past at all, in my opinion, use it for you. So say this woman who never invested in Money Academy, if she looks at her past and realizes, I have never invested money and made a tangible ROI from that investment, I learned what not to do, how not to interact with money that I have invested. I learned from those moments how investing in myself matters. And so I'm going to use all that information to determine how I move forward. I have a client in Money Academy who went through a divorce years ago and then was able to get herself out of debt because, divorce for most people creates lots of debt. Got herself out of debt. And now we're using that for her because even if she got herself out of debt, she got right back into debt. But now she's getting out of debt using that past information as evidence that she's capable of getting out of debt. She knows how to do it. Now we're going to make it sustainable so that if she decides she wants to be a debt-free person for the remainder of her life, she can be. If she decides, I want to be a debt-free person, but also I want to leave opportunities if I need debt for anything at all in the future, because that is a financial tool, she can be. And that's how you stop using your past against you. Your past is not your identity. Your identity is who you determine yourself to be. Yes, there are behaviors that you have displayed up until now that have created your results. And those behaviors are directly linked to the way you think. But just because you have certain behaviors that you're displaying today does not mean that's who you are. And financial confidence requires that you learn to separate yourself from the way your brain is thinking versus who you want to be, who you are. Because if you look deeply at your world today, your life today, you can truly see where your brain is just offering you thoughts and you just take them and believe them and you're acting on them. But deep down, you don't believe none of them. And if that's the case, then who you are isn't who you've been. And we can split that and work with the future version of yourself you want to be. So if you are determined to build a better relationship with money, you start first at cutting all ties with your past from a negative standpoint, because that will influence everything that you do. If you're one of those people that has been in debt before, maybe you filed for bankruptcy. Maybe you've had this incredible job that you've had good money. You just don't see where the money is going. If it feels like money is just bleeding, even though you're making a decent income, then we need to be able to separate you from that version of yourself and determine who you're becoming. And from there is how you create your future. But it starts first at how you're seeing yourself when it comes to money. What is the story you're telling yourself about yourself? And that is not necessarily your identity. And your identity is not etched in stone. So say you're like, this is just who I am. This is who I've always been. Okay, I agree. Fine. No problem. Let's not argue there. But that does not mean you're stuck there, because your identity is just a belief system you've operated on for so long. And now you can change it. Remember, we change our minds. Like, you can change your mind. Our brain is plastic and it can change completely. The more we practice new beliefs, the more our actual brain changes. And so we can always change. We can always redefine a new future based on our imagination. We can start creating evidence for who we are becoming so that then we're creating those results on purpose.